welcome on in. It's Shim-Line Saturdays, Bracket 2, Week 6. So, we actually have some really bad news this week, unexpectedly. It was supposed to be Queen Historia versus Grogs Rage this week, and Midoriya, Izuku Midoriya versus Might of Stone. Sadly, Queen Historia has been attacked backstage before they've made their debut into the competition.
Byron Saxton's back there.
And we're rolling, all right? Michael Corey, apparently Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins have both been laid out in the backstage area. Nick, can you tell me what happened?
All I know is that the Prophet's got attacked. I don't know any more than that, but they need medical attention. They're hurt badly. Guys, listen, the Prophet's got attacked. I don't know any more than that, but listen, they're hurt badly.
Guys, what's going on? What's
the
happening?
Prophet's got attacked. They're hurt badly, okay? There's no way that they can have that tag title match now. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on. You need a title match tonight? I don't want to be insensitive, but DIY can step right in.
Listen,
it'll fix everything.
Listen, Johnny, it's way too fresh.
We
Okay?
talked
I
about
can't
it.
have that conversation right
Alex,
now.
please, come on.
No, Nick. They want their match?
Yeah, they got it.
It's good with you?
It's good with them. Tonight.
Okay, fine. The match is on.
So, we have had to make a difficult decision to figure out who can replace her on such short notice, and luckily the competitor has came into play. As I say, this was a difficult decision to figure out who was going to take place. So the card now fighting off against Grogs Rage is difficult decision. So this card has an absolute hefty shimline over the top, but if you notice below, it either has what appears to be a second shim. It does look as if it's a second shim, very faint, cutting across the face of Erin. But it also could just be a runner line, potentially. We're not really too sure. I think it's a second shim because at certain angles, the foiling just changes on it, but not by a lot. Like, you can see it a tiny bit, like there. But it's a very faint line. I would almost say something along the lines of a gentleman shim is what I'm going to call it. The top one, though, is an absolute hefty shim. That is a brutal top bar shim, cutting, though, quite perfectly across the top of the head and just under the 1 on the difficulty. So it's almost perfectly uninterrupting everything. And at the same time being an absolute double shimmer. Like, this is a choice now. So here we have this card where I'm out of a rating out of 5. I honestly think this has to get a 5 shims on the rating. I think it has to get the full 5-star treatment. The double shim is super rare. We do not see that often enough. It's also horizontal as well. Which is also just something in of its own right, and the fact that one of them is just so perfectly just between two of the set items of play, being the card art and the difficulty, I think it has to be that. I think we're going to go with that. But again, this is now a tough competition. As I say, Queen Historia is out. You will not see her for the rest of the competition. She is no longer eligible for it, as she has been put on medical leave. So, difficult decision is, as I say, fighting off now against the secret rare of Hero of Exandria, Grogs Rage. Now this card is a something else. As you can see, the shim, again with a lot of these critical role cards, the shim is never too out there until you hit the certain angle. If you go from certain angles, like, it almost disappears completely, but like you can still see it there at the top part over the 5. But otherwise, it is just off to the left. Obviously, if we pull up our handy-dandy meter, that is just definitely not done in paint. Somebody said that. I was like, I can't believe it. We use top-tier technology here on the channel, everybody. So this is, as I say, it's kind of hard to see, but it is off to the left-hand side of the card. It's not cutting through anything crazy either, because it's quite faint as well. I think, honestly, if I'm having to grade this, I'm going to say a 2 out of 5 on the shim rating. I think this is getting a 2 out of 5. I think it's not... It doesn't interrupt anything enough where you would immediately notice as such, but if you get hit with the right angle, obviously it's just bam, straight away. All shim, all day. Otherwise, I think this is actually pretty acceptable, to be honest. Like, this is close to like being a hidden shim, to be honest. But I think a lot of the Critical Role cards seem to be doing this. Not too bad. So that is the two of those. So let's move on to the next pairing for this week, and we have Izuku Midoriya, an alt art version though, where he's in his nice wee tux, but he almost looks as if he's like going off of the difficult decision route with the double shim. But the more I inspected it, and the more we put it to a fine detail magnifying glass, it is more likely just a roller line end of texture line, and it is not actually a shim. But the first part is obviously a shim. You can immediately see the shim coming into play there. But it cuts almost, it's so close to being center through as well. Like if the roller line was where the shim was, it's like an almost perfect across the middle of the card. Obviously going across the way as well, which again for one of the earlier sets where the shim started to appear also gives it a little bit of uniqueness, to be fair, because actually this one was traded to us as well by one of the community members. So thank you very much for trading this with us. I think I swapped a non-shim version of this for this one. And yeah, so we have a solid competitor here. Yeah, I think this could go for an easy 3 out of 5 on the shim rating. The shim's not too heavy. It's kind of hideable at most angles, to be honest, as well. Even when you get up this angle, it's very hideable. So I'm saying it is going to follow on the lines of the hidden shim rating that we've been given stuff previously. It doesn't cut through the art either to the point where it's like interrupting it, because it's in the background as well. It's super in the background. So I think a 3. I think a 3 because it's a horizontal, so it's giving it some bonus points, but it doesn't immediately interrupt the art either. Maybe potentially that tiny bit of lightning on the left side, the way it seems to go, but only because of the way the foiling interacts with it. But otherwise, nope, I'm going to say 3. So then we move on to its competitor for this week, another Critical Role card entering the fray, which is Might of Stone. Now obviously you can see this shim off on the right hand side. It's in the background for the most part. It's not really cutting through too much, but it does something very interesting, as always, which seems to be with almost 99% of the Critical Role shims. It has a very hidden element to it. The moment the light's not catching it, the way the foiling seems to be on a lot of these cards, you can't see it until you hit that angle where the foiling becomes noticeable. And then you immediately see it. Then you catch it off guard. But until then, hidden shim to almost perfection. Like, there's so many angles you can hold this where you're sitting going like, yeah, there is no shim on this until you hit that one set. So I'm going to put this down at the really low bracket of a 1.5 out of 5 shims, just because for the most part, honestly, somebody would have to point this one out to you. This one, if you're sitting on the table, like, is it even a foil? No, it doesn't look like it because the foil is just that perfect on it. But the moment you hit that angle, wabam, you got yourself a shim. But as I say, for this week, right now, we have Difficult Decision versus Grogs Rage. And we have Izuku Midoriya versus Might of Stone. So that is your options for this week. So in the chat below, or in the posts below, wherever this gets posted to, put your decision in. Is it Difficult Decision going against Grogs Rage? Who wins out of this one? And who wins out of Izuku Midoriya versus Might of Stone? And we will get back to you next week with hopefully more information on Queen Historia, and obviously continuing the pairings of week 7 for Shim-Line Saturdays. I'll see you all then.